I'm doing that thing again where I hit go before I was like all set up. But that's okay because nobody's here in the beginning anyway, except for you who's watching this afterwards. And let me get our little private moment right now before everybody else comes or shows up. I have been working today on getting things set up for my group. If you're here, say hi. I love not being alone, especially around the topic today. Especially around the topic today. I'm going to turn my candle because it's going to burn and start to get on me. If you're here, say hi. Today I'm going to talk about healing, work, and learning is communal, meaning it's supposed to be done in groups, together, with each other, not separated and not in isolation. And while healing work or skill set building can happen individually, I did it for years, it doesn't have the same impact or sustainability, hi Catherine, as when it's a communal experience, when there's more than two people involved in the process of healing or learning. It exponentiates the experience and it allows for a deeper experience that is held in a communal structure. Hi, Catherine. And I spent almost all afternoon talking about community with clients and with friends. And hold on, I gotta turn this off. I don't know if this goes out, if people even know that I'm live. I don't even know how to do that. Is there a way to do that? I don't think so. I'm just at the whim of the algorithms. Let me turn this off. Not always sure what I'm pushing when I'm pushing things on my computer. Gotta be careful not to push the wrong thing. If you're just showing up, say hi. I love to be able to say hello. Doesn't mean you have to stay the whole time. There's no obligation. This is the internet after all, and you can just keep going, scrolling. There's no obligation here. Talking about community and also, oh, cool. Thank you, Catherine. I have no idea how that works. But also talking to my individual clients about the isolation of doing one-to-one work, right? While it can be very validating and very impactful, very supportive, it's not the same as if you were held in a community where that community was invested in caring for you too. It's not the same. And it's not, it's different. It's a both and probably scenario, but I'm finding the conversation around community, especially when it comes to onlineness, is very interesting. I have been creating online communities for the last 10 years. I'm not talking about big groups of people, like thousands and thousands of people. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking small, focused group of folks online for 10 years. And by small, I mean the smallest group I ever led was 6 people, and the largest group was 30 people. And I led them until I didn't, until the group cohesively, through the skill sets that I teach, became its own hierarchy where everyone is equal, including me. I provide the skill set workshops, and the rest is a group. Hi, Anthony. And in a community, what I have found when doing work on self-development, self-development's okay, but self-help, you don't need help. There's nothing wrong with you. You don't need to be fixed. But working in a group, a communal group, for me, I teach skill sets, so that's what we're doing. We're learning these things. It exponentiates the learning because we are sharing constantly. This is what I'm going through. So what somebody might be experiencing, somebody might be walking through a divorce, someone might be changing their job. Because when I teach groups, we're living in the real world. Like, we have our group online, but everybody is then living their life in the real world. And things happen. So somebody may be going through something with a parent or a sibling or a partner, and it might not be the exact thing as someone else, but their sharing of their experience helps to exponentiate the learning of the other people, whether we're having the same experiences or not. And that's really important, because we get to look at things and care for other people with respect, with dignity. These are skill sets that I teach, right? We're learning to be in a group of people, in the case of the communities that I create, of strangers at first. You know, those 6 to 30 people come into the online space and they've never met before. They don't know each other. And we don't start with the normal things that like you usually do in like a weird social setting. Like, well, what do you do for a living? We don't do that. We don't do that. People eventually find out what everybody does through being in a relationship together for a year. But it is not where we start, nor how we start to introduce ourselves. And that's by design, by my design. And they all come in and they don't know each other. And so they all start on the same footing, with the same place. Everybody walks into that room at the same moment in online time, and is introduced to the same material in the same moment. So nobody's ahead and nobody's behind. Everybody's walking in and is inclusive in that one moment. And so they start out as strangers. We all know how awkward that can be. You know, that part of being human, when we start out as being strangers, and you can feel some kinds of ways about it. And then over time together, the skill set of working in a group where you have all committed to being there for a year means that you don't just, it's an evening here. Nice day to you too. The skill sets that you have to learn, the ones that I teach, but also that you have to learn when you're in a community of people you've never met, and you know for certain you're going to be in that group for a year, you are going to learn to communicate with people you don't necessarily like. You're going to learn to communicate with people you don't agree with. You're going to learn to communicate with people from different demographics that you did not get to choose. You are going to learn to communicate from a place of full personal responsibility in whatever advice you may be giving to someone else. You're going to learn so many things simply because it's a group. And then on top of that, there's what I teach you in the skill sets that I teach. But there is a skill set inherent in doing work together in a group that you have to learn by proxy of being in a group, by committing to a time frame that allows trust to build over time, that allows vulnerability to be a part of the process, that allows honesty and sharing from a place of this is what I'm going through and not this is who I am, is a skill set in and of itself that is not utilized in the Western world enough. It's faked left and right. It's pontificated about left and right. But one of the groups of people that I've spent a good deal of time working with are ethics officers, or, you know, the people that go in and they're hired for, like, to say, oh, we have ethics, or the people that are hired for diversity, usually people of color, and how quickly they are waysided. And they're used as tropes, you know, like, oh, we did this and we had this person here for 6 months, because they can only last 6 months in each place usually, because as soon as they start to introduce actual community where people have to be accountable for their behavior, then the company doesn't want them anymore. And so it's pontificated about, it's philosophized about, but it isn't actually put into practice in any kind of way that creates sustainable change within groups of people. And that's the other reason, like, I work with very small groups, because the intimacy required, well, there's a whole bunch of tests. Don't believe me, you can Google this, what I'm about to say. You can Google what I'm about to say. I'm not teaching you anything fantastical. That our brains are wired to only recognize about 130 to 150 faces, if that, to recognize and relate on a continuous basis. I don't know about you, I just spent 3 weeks in a community with 50 people. And that felt unbelievably good. It felt one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life was to put myself in that group of people from all over the world, held impeccably by an Indigenous community. And I can sit here with you and I can pull forth each person's face, right? Even some of the people that were on the periphery, that were like taking care of things, I can pull their face towards me, right? That was like really comfortable. It felt really natural. It felt really innate. Like I could relate to all of those people. I could have hands on all of those people, and it, in my body, it made sense, right? Not just in my mind, but in my body. I can pull them all forward. It's like this, I can bring them in, and it warms me up to do that. And if you would double that, I would be stretched to be able to do what I just did. I would be stretched at that amount of people to have my hands on everybody in a sense, right, over a period of time. And so I run small groups on purpose that are 30 or less. 15 is my sweet spot. 5 is kind of scary to me. Hey, Willem, you sent me a message about wanting, sorry, I do this sometimes. Like I take in a lot of information about wanting to know about the Maori healers. It is maorihealers.com. I can do that. I'll put it in here. I'm going to put it in my reply to you. Ooh, this is weird. Okay. And they are having, I think that's it. I'm pretty sure that's it. And they are having, there's a monthly online self-healing. Yes, that's the right one. Self-healing, they do it once a month, and it is on this Saturday. This Saturday. I will be there. You can come. It's Zoom. It costs 55 New Zealand dollars, and you will need 2 rock cows. If you don't have a rock cow or one of these things, then you can get a broom handle. But if you're gonna, hi everybody, I just gotta do this because it's on my mind. So my rock cow looks like this. But if you traditionally, in some places it's hard to go out into the forest and forage your own. So if you're going to take part in that, there it is. You're going to need 2 rock cows about that size. Here's my finger. Here's my finger. Okay. There. They're about, the length is going to be from the tip of your big finger to the middle of your shoulder, like of your shoulder deltoid thingy right there. That's how long you want them to be. If you don't have time to do that before Saturday, if you can use a broomstick, you just don't want it to be plastic. Yeah. If you had to have only one of the 2 sizes, oh, that's hard. Choose for yourself. So that's the self-healing mahi rakau that my teacher teaches. And that was for Willem because he wrote me a message and then I did not respond. So him being here reminded me that I wanted to respond. So there you go. Welcome to the world of actually living in my real life. Hey, Tila. Hey, Wanda. So I'm talking about communal healing, and learning was never supposed to be done alone or hidden behind a door, right? It was not supposed to be this thing that you go into some kind of weird privacy and sterilize space and heal. You know, it's one of the reasons, hi Susan, I feel really strange about the sterility of the medical. Like, I'm not talking about doing surgery, but how in the Western world, illness, birth, illness, and death are all these things that are like behind closed doors, and they happen somewhere over there out of the experience of the average person in the world, in the Western world. And it's not a part of everyday life that you experience because you're living close with everybody and you know who's dying in your village and you know who's given birth in your village, and we're really detached from our very natural way of relating to each other. But that all of those things that I just mentioned, birth, illness, death, I'm going to include healing and learning, are not meant to be done somewhere over there, hidden, where there's a gatekeeper. It's supposed to be done together. That's how we're wired, and I'm going to tell you a story. So stay for the story or don't. I have been doing the mahi raka, which is again working with, I'll show you. So I showed you the standard ones. I'll show you the ones that I can't say that I love them all, so I can't say they're my favorites. This is my favorite, this is my favorite, they're all my favorite. But like, these are ones that I have. This is from New Zealand. I think it's a manuka tree. It could be kanuka. It's one of those two. This is from a beach in California. Washington State, sorry, wrong. As I touch her, she's like, excuse me, that's not where I'm from. Anyway, you learn to work on your own body with the mahi raka. And I've been doing that since 2019. And changed my life, unbelievably helpful. I've been to, specifically for the mahi raka, for the raka, I've been to 2 workshops, like a 3-day and a 5-day, one just for women. So I've been doing this for a long time. It's a practice that I've been doing. And then I went and I learned how to do it on other people. I work with a stick, with the raka on other people, but also to use my hands and my elbows and my fingers and my toes and my feet and my butt, everything, every part of my body to work on other people. And in the 5.5 years, 6 years that I've been doing the mahi raka, which is with the stick, by myself, I have had incredible experiences of healing in my own body. When I entered the world and the realm of being with other people, touching other people touching me for 100+ hours, I will never be the same, ever, from that experience. Never. And the healing that has happened in my body since November, I don't know how to explain. And it's not like, I'm not talking about, I mean, it's miraculous. For me, I think it's miraculous. In the group setting, in working on other people's bodies, I am being healed at the same time. And this work is not done in private. It's done in real life, people around. It could be outside, it could be inside, but it's not in a sterilized place. Hi, Kristen. It's not in a sterilized place. And I've always created community online because I think it's important to learn skill sets with other people, because you realize you're not alone in the things you think you're alone in. You're not. And so in community, together with others, my body began to understand how it heals differently than when I was doing it alone. And so this is just like a confirmation of why I have chosen to teach the work I teach the way I do, which is in small groups. It's not because the work is not effective. If you were to read it in a book, it probably would be. I don't know, because I never wrote a book, so I'm talking out of my ass. But when people are together and they're learning skill sets or they're doing healing work, and my work is both, there's an exponentiality to it, of the group awareness, of the group togetherness, that creates a something amazing in and of itself, because it's not meant to be done alone. I do not teach the skill sets that I teach one-to-one. When I mentor somebody one-to-one, it's a very different experience than when I'm mentoring the group. And the group I'm talking about is starting in 2 weeks. Nobody has to buy anything. I'm just telling you it's available for purchase right now. The group aspect of it is so important. It is so important that we do this work together with other people. It's how we get to know ourselves. It's how we get to know other people. I was talking earlier, if you weren't here, about how the groups that I teach, everybody walks in. People have already signed up, and people will probably sign up till the last day. I don't open our Facebook group or our Zoom stuff until Monday, the 12th of February. And I open it at the exact same time for everyone. So everyone enters the room that we're going to be in together for a year at the same time. Nobody's ahead. Nobody's behind. Everybody enters the room, and they enter the room and they look around, and most often they're complete strangers. Some of them might be clients that I've had who have been in other groups who may know each other. That's rare. But but most people walk into that room and they never met each other. They're strangers. And we're about to spend a year together. And that alone has like a synergy to it that allows the work to be something that becomes sustainable in each participant's body, mind, spirit, soul, however we're going to call it. It's far more sustainable when you learn and heal in community, in healthy community. The part about healthy and functional is really important. That's what I do. That's my job. That's my job. My job is to create that healthy and functional community. Hi, John. That's my job. That's what people pay. That's what people pay me for. Then the community is in a hierarchy after that. And through walking into an experience with other people that you don't know, that you are going to, you're going to be spending a year together with, the learning process becomes how we're wired to learn. We're not wired to sit still for a long period of time, and we're not wired to sit staring at something by ourselves. To actually learn about who and what we are, and who and what we are when we relate to other people, we need to be doing that with other people. It is so important, and it's such a piece for me. I didn't grow up in community. I did not grow up in a healthy family. I have complex and compound trauma. I don't have a people, like culturally, I don't. I'm an orphan. I am currently living on land that are my ancestral. This is where my genetics come from. But in the way that I have lived my life and come into being a human being, I don't have a people or a community. So it was really difficult for me to even conceptualize what being in community would do for me. And then I had to learn how to be discerning, to choose small groups of people that were, in today's day and age, were at least functioning at a relatively healthy, integral way, so that I could learn what it meant to be in community. Hi, Jennifer. And in the groups that I facilitate, people stay friends forever. I mean, forever, for a long time. It hasn't been forever yet. But they come together, they're absolute strangers. We do this work together, and they're, I think, truly family. Some of them become really, they could visit each other. They, one of the groups that paid portion of the group ended in 23, 22, 21. They're still there, supporting each other, caring for each other, walking each other through cancer diagnoses and divorce and all kinds of things, and as a unit, as friends. And that to me is the best thing ever, right? I'm a part of the group like everybody else, but I'm just like everyone else. And they're still grouping, and they're still community, and they're my community. They're who I go to and say, hey, what do you guys think about this? Every once in a while. And I did not understand myself how that structure of communal learning is so vital to sustainability of learning the skill sets that I teach. Alone, it can be very clunky. Like if I'm teaching somebody one-to-one, it gets very clunky. If I'm in a group and somebody asks this question, somebody else asks this question, somebody shares this about their life, and the next person says, oh yeah, and they share this, and it starts to pop off. I call it the popcorn, right? And that popcorn creates a dynamic, non-linear learning environment, which is the way we are supposed to work. That's how our mind and body gets involved in what we're learning. And then, because we're all doing this group thing in real life, it's like the shit hits the fan for them. Something happens. And they can come to the group and say, this is happening. And they are held, and they are listened to, and they are not told what to do. They learn what community really looks like. I learn every time that I do a group, I heal. Hi, I wanted to call you delicious. my vision and my brain sometimes do that. Yeah. So one of the skill sets that isn't like a skill set that I'm like, here's a skill set and I've written something about it, although this next round I will, is the skill set of being in community. That if you go into a communal learning in a healthy environment, there's a guarantee of growth in that environment, because that's how we are wired as human beings. That's what it means in Latin. There you go. Delicious. Plus I have my best friend, she always says, live delicious. It's like, it's really hard. You gotta live delicious. Only she has a much better and most more wonderful Croatian accent. I can't even say it nearly as beautifully as she does. So being in community is a skill set, and we can only learn that skill set by being in community or in a communal environment with others. And I know that I've been in communal environments that were not healthy and not functional. And so it's important to choose and be discerning about the communal spaces we put ourselves in, but to seek out communal learning spaces, because that's how we learn the best. Hi, Susan, right? We learn the best by being together, and we heal the most by being with others who are wanting the same for themselves. It's such a necessary part. And I'll repeat again, because this is what I find really important, like birth, illness, death, and healing in the Western world have been pushed behind sterilized doors, right? It's not supposed to happen in public. It's not supposed to happen out loud. It's not supposed to be seen. Again, birth, illness, death, and healing have been shoved away somewhere over there. We know they exist, but they shouldn't be too much in our face. The Western world has completely washed away culture around birth, illness, death, and healing. And that's always been really strange to me as a human being, because those are daily fucking occurrences. I actually live in a village in Switzerland, and I still don't know who's having, I can kind of grok who's having a baby if I see pregnant women, right? But I might not know them, but I don't know who's died. I don't know who's sick. If you're sick, you're supposed to isolate, especially since COVID. You isolate. You don't, it's not, illness isn't taken care of. Yeah, it's true. As a nurse, I've seen this. It was one of the most horrific things for me, people dying during COVID and being like, they're alone. They're alone in a room. That is some bullshit. If it was my loved one, you're going to take me to prison. I will be with them. If my child is ill, I am not quarantining them. I am hugging them. I am loving them. I am caring for them, and I'm taking the consequences. I'm an adult. But I don't hide my healing from anybody. I don't hide my healing from my children. I don't hide my healing from my husband. There was a line of work that I did for a good 10 years in the trauma. I did a lot of trauma work, and it was trauma support for folks who had been through some heinous things. And so my family is used to people walking at my front door and collapsing in my arms, or crying at my kitchen table, or doing what they need to do as I was a support aide for that. They're used to that. They're used to seeing healing out loud. They're used to seeing healing, like wailing, and 3 seconds later laughing, and then giggling, and then crying, and then, because healing is a full spectrum of being a human being. And I never have tried to hide that from my children like it's some, dirty thing. It's not. It's a part of being a human being in the world we live in. And healing is not supposed to happen in secret, hidden somewhere. It is supposed to happen supported by a small to, you know, a community of people. We heal together. We only can go so far in our healing journeys alone. That was a fucking bitter ass pill for my Western mind to swallow. I was like, what the fuck? I could do this. I could, what? I could do this by myself. That's just a bullshit conditioning that keeps us divided and isolated from seeking each other out and being willing to be in I'm creating a sign for my door because I'm doing hands-on healing right now in my home. My clinic is my living room that says this is an open healing space. This is an open healing space. Now, I do believe in curating the space, the healing space, in many different ways. On every realm there is a possibility. In that my groups are private. I'm not allowing people to come and go when I do a year-long program or a 3-week program, whatever they are. People come in and those people stay. They're the ones. And nobody externally comes in because that is now a cohesive community and it's working. And I'll be working on things the next 10 years of combining all of this and bringing so that communities move within communities within the work that I'm doing. But for now, so when somebody steps into my house, into my clinic, this is an open healing space, meaning my table is in the living room. And I have an open house anyway. And there's the kitchen and there's stairs and there's 6 other people that live in this house. So when people come here for these healing sessions, my family's still living here. You know, the postman might still ring the door. We're living in real life because it's not supposed to be hidden. And I do this because that's the lineage I've been given. It's not supposed to be hidden. It's not supposed to be secret. It's not supposed to be alone. And it's not supposed to be private between 2 people either. When my husband and I, hi Michelle, go have an argument, we're not hiding it from our children. We're also like not horrible and awful to each other. So I guess there's that nuance. But we can get frustrated and we can, you know, be upset with each other, but we're not hiding this. Like, oh, excuse me, children, we got to go behind closed doors because being angry is bad. No, my children know how to have a conflict and how to resolve conflicts because we've done it in the open. There's a wonderful book. I can't believe I'm actually remembering the name of it. I'm not good at these things. Called Sand Talk. I read it a very long time ago. Please do not hold me to the story I'm going to tell you. I hope I'm doing it justice. Man. And he's talking about some of the intact culture that the Aboriginals, his Aboriginal line in Australia has. I highly recommend this book. In fact, I'll show you. Oh, there we go. Come back. I'm like, what is happening? I got this from the book. It's my favorite thing one of my favorite things of how things work. So in the middle, that big dot is the baby. You can see, I wrote book here and I did not write the name. See, I'm just telling you, that's how I function. So, baby, the circle is the mom. The triangle is the father. And the 3 are 3 generations of grandmothers. And this is how they see the bringing up of a child. And they talk about their visual language, which is what I just shared with you. But he talks about how before the colonizers came, the white people that colonized Australia, they had in pretty much every village a village gathering area. And the people that I've learned my healing from, Romi, are the Maori of New Zealand. They have a marae, right? So there's these communal gathering spaces where if anybody was having a beef with each other, they would call the whole village together. And I've also read this from Martin Prechtel. He's a shaman who was taught in Guatemala. That when people had a beef with each other, they would all come together, and it doesn't matter, man, woman, man, woman, and they would just have their fight out in the open. You know, even if they smacked each other, it looked really brutal. But there were like community rules. Everybody was there to witness it, so they couldn't do anything terrible because there were rules about, you know, not hitting below the belt and things like that. And they would have their argument and their violence, if you will, and it would be within community, and they would be held to account in a sense. And then when they were finished, it was done. They were like, that's it, you're done. Your thing is finished. And everybody would go home because they knew intuitively violence should never be happening. Anger at each other should never be happening in private. It's not supposed to be hidden. And neither is healing, and neither is birth, and neither is death, and neither is illness. These are things that we are supposed to take care of each other when it's happening. Communal spaces that are healthy and functioning are super important for our health. Every single person's health. Even if you are an introvert, even if you are a hermit, which I raise my hand, I'm a hermit. I don't go outside my house very much. Hi, Natalie. We need communal spaces. We need friends spaces. In the Western world, it's our group of friends, right? Which I also do not have many, right? Like a group of friends where I live, like where I go out and I have like, a weekly or a monthly women's night out or something like that. I don't have that. I don't have that here. But I do have, I live in a house of 6 and there's 2 other people that come and go often. I do have that as my communal space where everything is out in the open and nothing is hidden and nothing. It doesn't mean that people don't have privacy. Privacy just takes on a different idea. I don't know how to explain that. So I just lived, sleeping in the same room with 50 people. Sleeping in the same room, eating in the same places, sharing the same bathrooms. And so in a very real sense, the Western mind, there was no privacy whatsoever. So everything's being done. But people, you would just go off a little bit and you would have a private conversation, and that's what's private, right? But the Western world has made private hidden, behind, away, not right, inappropriate. I don't agree. I believe that healing and learning are communal events. That in the Western world, the impetus and the onus of healing is placed on an individual person. It's a huge, huge fallacy, and it causes me grief. From my own personal experience of thinking it was all me, I was screwed with, abused as a child, and then growing up as an adult and being like, I have to. But at the beginning, I thought I had to fix it. But I have to be. It's these things that were done to me that I didn't choose, that have harmed me deeply and greatly and gravely. It's up to me to figure out how to live with them. Very lonely, very isolating. I've been in programs and therapy and all kinds of different things. And because in the Western world, the onus is you have an issue, you have a mental health problem, you have ABC diagnoses. And so here we are going to treat the diagnoses and that you are going to be treated. But nobody's talking about what environment created this. What culture or society or family systems are you living within that is causing this too? Maybe you're living in an environment that isn't a healing environment, where you can't heal out loud, where maybe more abuse is happening, and yet you're going and you're being diagnosed and you're being said you're the problem, or you alone by yourself are the problem and have the problem. It's untrue. It is untrue, and it makes us think that we're crazy. I'm talking for myself. We need communal environments that we're discerning about, that are healthy for us in order to heal. That we that created the me, yeah. And again, I'm going to pull from my experience. I have done healing work on my own body by myself for 5 years. as soon as I started to do it with and on other people, my own physical, my own body, soul, spirit healing exponentiated. And I was like, what the hell? Like in a way where it felt like super powers. Not me, I mean like the whole experience. And I was like, oh shit. For me, I can feel the innateness, the truth of this that I've been living and teaching, and like groping in the dark for, because I didn't have the blueprint. I didn't have the blueprint. My childhood was a mess. I didn't have the blueprint. And then of course I was afraid of communities. And I've had some gnarly, really gnarly experiences with coaching communities, in the healing, in the spiritual community, where it mimicked and pretended to be a healthy community. And then it really fucking wasn't. So that was rough. So that's not what I'm talking about. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about healthy, functioning community. And if you've never been in that, I understand. And I've been there too. And it's why I create the way that I do, the courses and the containers that I teach. Community is a big part of that. Nobody here has to buy from me, but I am going to tell you that I am selling a year-long program on these skill sets that starts on February 12th. And in complete transparency and honesty, it's 299 Swiss francs. You check Google for whatever that may be in your currency per month. And it includes me, access to me for the entire year. That's the truth. And 44 2-hour workshops. That's 88 hours of skill set workshops and support workshops and Q&A workshops and working through things workshops. It includes 140 plus written modules. It includes, for every person that signs up, there's 6 private sessions that are then shared in the group that become part of our curriculum. I think that's it. If that sounds interesting and it is financially accessible to you, reach out to me. And if it's not financially accessible to you, no problem. You're not missing anything at all. Keep living your life. Nothing to miss. What I've offered in this video, plus the last 5 videos that I've done, is absolute free content that talks about everything that I teach. And all of it, each video by themselves, is of immense value, in my opinion, or I wouldn't be here. This one being about, it doesn't have to be my community. But if, when you're doing healing, find that place where it's not hidden, where it's not sterilized, where there are clear protocols and a place where you can discern and trust. It is so important. Healing was not, there is a certain degree of healing that only you can do for yourself. We are all the healers that we need. We are. I'm the healer I need. You're the healer you need. Just be discerning. So I've told the story many times. I tell it again and again. So if you watch these, you're going to get repeats. But my thing is when I do the work that I do, the Romi Rohi and the Mahi Rakau, these are all in the lineage of my teacher. And since I'm going to talk about it, I'm going to tell you from who that lineage is. So my teacher is Maori Elder Atarangi Maru. The teachings are the intellectual property of Atarangi Maru and her teachers, Auntie Bella Nathan, Auntie Pearl Allen, Auntie Haney Phillips, Faya Skipper, Papa Joe Delamere, Mana Korefa. That is the lineage that I have learned Romi from. And so when somebody's on the table and I'm working on them, I am learning so much every body that I touch. And if I repeat the body, I'm learning again. And that person stands up and have something that's changed or shifted. Who did that? Who's the healer? Was it me because I touched them, or was it their tissue because they responded to the touch? I'm going to tell you who I think got the most out of it. I'm not doing anything but following a very clear instructions that I've been given on how to do this work. But if somebody has a healing experience on my table, that is their healing experience. They did that. I did not. My body has irrevocably changed by being allowed to touch their body. In the Maori tradition that I learned this in, we were at least 10 facilitators working in the same room, open. It was inside, outside, it was in the open. And that is the way this work is meant to be done. And when I teach a class and the perimeters are set online, healing is in the open. Healing happens together with everyone else because we share the experience together. But each person is the healer for themselves and contributes that healing to the group. Communal sharing, being together with other people who you yourself have discerned as healthy and functional. Not perfect, not messy, because we're a messy crew. People that work with me, we're messy. We create messes so we can learn. Oh no, we don't create them on purpose, but we learn from that. And we fall apart and we rise up and we do all the things out in the open. And if you don't have it in a group, if you have it in one person, that's okay. Start to grow that if you can. It will change you because it's how we're meant to do this. We're meant to do this together. We are not meant to be isolated in our birthing, in our illness, in our death, or in our healing, or in our learning. We're supposed to do it all together as a group. Helping, leaning in, everyone contributing, and those who can't contributing also in ways that we cannot see. I don't know if you guys can hear them in the background, but the bells are chiming, which means it's 6 p.m. my time here in Switzerland, and I'm going to go help make dinner. If you're here now, if you're here sometime in the future because Facebook kept this up, thank you for being here. You've given me the gift of your time, and I do not take that lightly. And I'll see you on the other side.